The Jehovah's Witnesses may not ban education, but their organization strongly discourages higher education for several reasons, primarily to protect members from what they see as worldly and spiritually damaging influences. This church emphasizes that the time and effort spent in a university could be prioritized for their ministry instead. Reasons for discouraging higher education are to focus on the divine education. JW leaders encourage members to pursue the highest education by focusing on faith and ministry regular instead of secular degrees. Avoidance of perceived spiritual dangers. The organization warns that higher education can expose believers to worldly ideologies, and intellectual thinking can erode faith. Many leaders warn parents that the most intelligent and eloquent professors will be trying to reshape the thinking of your child. Watchtower Publications have compared the college environment to a bad association, noting that campuses are notorious for bad behavior and can lead to spiritual harm. Fear of free thinking. Many people associated with fundamentalist forms of Christianity, JW, or even Mormonism have posted on places like Facebook and Reddit where they talk about how higher education encourages independent thinking and critical reasoning skills, which would lead members to question organizations' teachings. Materialism and greed. Jehovah's Witnesses are warned that the emphasis on career advancement and wealth creation in higher education can foster materialism. Prioritization of organizational needs. Critics suggest the discouragement of higher education ensures a steady supply of low-wage or volunteer labor for the organization's needs, such as door-to-door preaching or construction projects. This also ensures that members remain financially dependent on the JW organization. The consequences of having the view that discourages higher education is that it discourages higher education. Even though there has never been an outright ban by the JW leadership, this has led to significant disparity in educational attainment. According to the Pew Research, only 9% of JWs earn an undergraduate degree. This is far below the national average in the U.S. Career limitations. JWs are often encouraged to pursue trades or vocational training that allow for flexible schedules and do not demand significant time commitments. What about loss to career opportunities, lower lifetime earnings? In 2025, the governing body of the JW Church decided to change their official stance on higher education. This is a good thing. Anything that pushes people to better themselves, earn additional money annually, and gets them into environments that isn't so isolating is a great thing. Whether or not they change their stance for healthy, good reasons is up for debate. And when I grew up in Baptist churches, there was a I call it the dark cloud over fundamentalism, because they view any kind of secular education, entertainment, pursuit, relationship that isn't closely nailed into God and their narrow view of religion and worldview impacts people's development, how their life moves, what they get for relationships and retirement. If you control how people view education, you have a tight-fisted control over the next 3 generations. If you've ever looked at statistics, why every single time the states with the lowest educational programs, pursuit, and test scores are always in Republican states, there are reasons for that. Conservative values, conservative politics creates an environment which is very 1950s. Back when 52% of the population could not pursue any career they wanted. We're talking about women here. And anytime you don't have the majority of people who are secular, atheist, humanistic, agnostic, you are not going to be a country that is full, thriving, and leading the world in modernism. I mean, you look at the countries that are the most progressive. They offer the best life for women, minorities, and people who are different. And by different, I mean the LGBTQIA, where they don't fit within the heteronormative gender roles that the US expects of people. I mean, I always call them the cold countries, where, like Denmark, Norway, Sweden, they're countries that are very similar to Alaska, where I grew up, where they have a lot of cold weather. But even like Alaska, you have a time during the year where you have sunlight, a summer, but usually countries that are leading the world in being progressive and being modern are countries that the majority of population there are atheists. They're humanists, agnostics. They're not stereotypically religious or within the 5 major world religions. Religion holds people back. It always has. I mean, the Catholic Church is one of the main reasons why the printing press was developed in the 1400s and not 1,000 years sooner. Because the religious context of the day did not want the Bible written. They actually killed you for writing the Bible if you didn't have church authorization. People like William Tyndale were executed in England for daring to write an English Bible translated from the medieval form of the German language. It's all about power. That's why religion is so political. And why religion always gets into politics and feminism. Well, in the feminism case, it's always the anti part. And not all Christians are against the feminine and the feminism platform. But when you look at the types of fundamentalist churches, what they are, what they stand for, and what they oppose, it's always things that were popular before the 1960s. Baptists, they don't like abortion. They don't believe women are capable leaders. They want women to be tradwives. They don't want women voting, or it's always in a subservient position. Why do Baptists and Christian nationalists support Trump? Because Trump wants a misogynistic society, a society where anyone that isn't white and male is a servant or dead, depending on what's going on now. And the whole issue with education, it's about power. This is why Republican states like Florida, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Louisiana, why they want the 10 Commandments on everything. Because they don't want anything taught to kids that doesn't smell of white supremacy, racism, and homophobia. And they will deny to their graves, they will die on that mountain, that what they're teaching kids is moral, but it's not. Moral people don't want to isolate their kids. They don't want to indoctrinate them. They don't want to keep them separate so they don't touch what they consider sinful practices. Parents want their kids to be exposed to things so later in life they can make their own decisions. That's why we learn about bad governments and horrible times in human history, so we don't forget, we don't become apathetic so it can happen again. Religion doesn't like people to be educated unless it's to benefit them. Anytime in Baptist churches they want people to go to seminary, it's so that they can create a new church. And it's really hard to be in a pastor's family. I've known a lot of kids who struggle their whole life being a pastor's kid. I mean, religious OCD is very alive.